Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. In this collection of eerie encounters, we delve into 3 spine-chilling experiences with the supernatural and how they intersect at the use of a seemingly innocent game, the Ouija board. Such accounts blur the line between reality and the paranormal, serving as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking beneath seemingly innocent pastimes. Prepare for a haunting exploration into nostalgia, youthful curiosity, and uninvited visitors, all bearing testament to the haunting potential of the Ouija board. Nostalgia-fueled nightmare. Mike and Susan were spending a nostalgic evening with a pair of old friends. The evening was marked by free-flowing drinks and ample laughter. The idea of engaging with a Ouija board, a pastime from their youth, was proposed by someone in the group. Since they didn't have a board on hand, they improvised one, using cut-out letters and numbers, and inverted glass as a planchette. The initial 30 minutes yielded no results, much like their previous Ouija board attempts. They were about to end the session when, unexpectedly, the glass shifted. The men in the group were accused by the women of manipulating the glass, but they staunchly denied any deception. The glass started moving again, this time gradually forming the words, "I am not," and "die." The frightened expressions on everyone's faces largely ruled out the possibility of someone at the table being the culprit. Suddenly, a loud crackling sound permeated the air, accompanied by the smell of burning. The quartet quickly terminated their Ouija session and began tidying up. Mike, while moving the table back to its original spot, nearly let it fall in astonishment. A large burnt area, intersected by what looked like claw marks, had appeared on the previously unblemished underside of the table. The group promptly took the table outside, disassembled it, and tossed the pieces, along with the makeshift Ouija board, into a roaring fire. Regrettably, their troubles did not cease with the flames. Over the following fortnight, Mike and Susan were plagued by a series of unnerving paranormal incidents. Their typically warm home was now marked by chilly spots. Disturbing knocking and scraping noises could be heard emanating from the walls during the night. Everyday objects seemed to be moved mysteriously overnight, like pictures found inverted in the morning. But the most chilling occurrences were the apparitions they both witnessed. Mike recounted seeing shadowy figures darting through the corridor on at least 2 occasions. Susan described waking up one night to a pair of tiny eyes glaring at her from across the room. Neither Mike nor Susan held any religious affiliations, so they sought the assistance of a white witch to dispel the unsettling presence from their home. Following a cleansing ritual performed by the witch, the couple reported that they were no longer troubled by any disturbing occurrences. They also made a solemn promise never to interact with a Ouija board again, regardless of how potent their sentimentality might be. The Young Witch. In Los Angeles, young Marie, aged 11, made an effort to extend a hand of friendship towards her new schoolmate Anna, who faced rejection by her other peers due to her peculiar demeanour. Encouraged by her mother, Marie invited Anna to her home after school one day. As they rummaged through Marie's collection of board games, Anna's eyes sparkled upon finding a Ouija board. Marie expressed her scepticism about the game, having previously played it to no avail. Anna, however, laughed it off, claiming that Marie had not been using it properly. She then revealed a startling fact. Anna and her mother were witches who had the knowledge to summon spirits using the board. Doubtful yet intrigued by Anna's claim, Marie agreed to sit in the centre of her room with the board in her lap. She allowed Anna to guide her hands over the planchette as Anna circled it while murmuring unintelligible phrases. Suddenly, Anna removed her hands and the planchette swiftly moved to spell M-A-R-I-E. Marie. Marie, taken aback, tossed the board away in fear. Furious more than frightened, Marie dared Anna to repeat the phenomenon without their hands on the board. Anna complied, and Marie watched as the planchette independently spelled her name again. This time Marie was genuinely terrified. She rushed to her mother, revealing the eerie event and expressing her fear of Anna. Though sceptical, Marie's mother escorted Anna back to her home. After regaining composure, Marie ventured back into her room, where the Ouija board still lay in the middle of the floor. Seeing it as nothing more than a cardboard game with a plastic pointer, she decided to give it another try, solo. As she started moving the planchette around, as Anna had demonstrated, an overwhelming force took control. Marie later recounted, "A power so potent and assertive knocked me off my seat and flung the board across the room." Tearfully, she sought solace in her parents. While they were still doubtful, her mother promised to dispose of the Ouija board. Marie spent that night and the following few on the couch. By the week's end, her parents urged her back to her own room. Reluctantly agreeing, she took the family dog along for company. Later that night, she was startled awake by the dog growling and scratching at the door. The room was ice cold, and Marie could not shake off the feeling of being watched. Rather than fear, she felt a strange indifference, even anger towards her parents for pushing her back into the haunted room. In a daze, she wandered into her parents' room, pointing under their bed. The next thing she recalled was her mother soothing her with a cool washcloth on the couch. Her mother confessed that they had become worried when Marie didn't respond to them calling her. Marie's parents had also noticed the chill in her room and the dog acting unusually. The object under their bed? The Ouija board. Marie's mother had stashed it there instead of throwing it out, underestimating its potential impact. The following day, when she finally disposed of the board, she could have sworn she heard it shriek. Nighttime visitors. In 1975, at the age of 14, Jessie and her family had recently relocated to a modest apartment complex in Ontario, Canada. On a typical day, her friend Darcy dropped by, and in the absence of anything more exciting to do, they chose to dabble with a Ouija board Jessie received from her mother the previous Christmas. They positioned the board on a box in the basement and started their attempt to communicate with Darcy's deceased grandfather. "Grandpa, if you're present, can you signal us somehow?" Darcy called out. Gradually, the planchette began to drift over the board. At the same time, the basement's temperature started to plummet, despite it being a sweltering afternoon in July. Their surroundings felt charged with an unseen force, and the girls were convinced that they were no longer alone. Instead of being frightened, they were thrilled by this apparent supernatural opportunity. They posed more questions to the board, but didn't get any meaningful responses. Eventually growing bored, they stored the board away, vowing not to share their paranormal experiment with anyone. At around 7 p.m. that evening, Jessie was overwhelmed by a sudden wave of exhaustion. She crashed onto her bed and instantly fell asleep. However, she was soon disrupted by a sensation of the room spinning around her. Battling rising panic, she fought to fully awaken as she felt a pull on her. She eventually woke up, still drained, and now also afflicted by an inexplicable dread and depression. It felt like I was enveloped by a malevolent dark cloud, she later recollected. Feeling the need to confide in someone, Jessie walked to the nearest payphone to call her closest friend Tom. En route, she noticed some frogs by the roadside and intuitively felt that they wouldn't survive her return trip. She reached the payphone, dialed Tom, and relayed her experience. Tom advised her to dispose of the Ouija board immediately, branding it evil. He further suggested painting a red cross on it, snapping it in half, and then discarding it. Jessie returned home, discovering the frogs indeed lifeless as predicted, and marked a cross on the Ouija board with red nail polish, broke it and tossed it in a dumpster. While the Ouija board was physically out of Jessie's life, the ominous energy it seemed to have unleashed continued to plague her for years. She consistently felt a crippling exhaustion at 7 p.m. every night. Disturbing experiences such as her bed quaking, a terrifying sensation of invisible malevolent presences surrounding her, and feeling weighed down by unseen objects haunted her sleep. She also encountered an unusual string of misfortunes and a series of adverse events. Finally, at her wit's end, Jessie took a small Bible she had possessed since her school days and began praying, pleading for divine intervention. In a swift, unexpected turn of events, she experienced a tranquility she hadn't felt in years. The instances of severe fatigue at 7 p.m. ceased, and she was no longer visited by terrifying unseen entities at night.